Increase in national minimum wage. Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Also this afternoon, NCTVET and VTDI workers stage yet another sit-in. Ministry intervenes in ongoing industrial relations dispute between the Port Security Corps. And later in sports, Elaine Thompson-Hero targets sub-7-second time in 60 minutes. I'm Giovanni Dennis and here are the details. We begin with news that the national minimum wage will increase come April 1. The announcement was made by Labour Minister Karl Samuda at a virtual press conference a short while ago. Mr. Samuda says the rate will move from $7,000 to $9,000 per 40-hour work week. The minimum wage for security guards will increase from $9,700 to $10,500 per 40-hour work week. Mr. Samuda says the increase in the national minimum wage was approved yesterday by Cabinet. Now, there have been renewed calls for an increase in the minimum wage in light of rise in prices of some basic food items. The last time the minimum wage increased was in 2018. Now, we'll have more on this story in Primetime News at 7. To more wage-related news now, disrespected and disregarded. That's how workers at the National Council on Technical and Vocational Education and Training, NCTVET, and Vocational Training Development Institute, VTDI, describe the treatment being meted out to them from the Education Ministry. The employees staged a sit-in this morning as they claim the ministry is yet to meet with them. The workers protested on January 20 because of salary and other contract issues. A week after that protest, the workers were promised a meeting with the Permanent Secretary from the Ministry of Education to address the concerns, but they claim they are still waiting for dialogue.
We feel disrespected and disregarded by the Ministry of Education officials. We were promised a follow-up meeting from as far back as February 11. Now it is 11 days later, and there is still no concrete meeting in place to address the issues that we had.
National Workers Union delegate for NCTVET Earl Samuels admits operations at the entities have been disrupted as a result of the industrial action.
We are no longer doing examination results, no longer printing certificates, and no longer doing audits of institutions until we are met with and given something concrete.
And so from the VTDI side, you know that classes should be in full swing, but because the JTA reps were on the lectures, we have withdrawn, so we're doing a sit-in. So classes have in fact been affected starting today because those JTA members, they are not facilitating classes right now.
Delegate at VTDI Caroline O'Connor insists normalcy will not resume until the ministry meets with entities.
Workers have been patient and we feel so disrespected right now. I mean, from the 31st, you met with us to give you a week, and now it's 2 weeks after and no attempt at having the meeting set. I don't think they're taking this as important as they should.
And the Ministry of Labour and Social Security has intervened in the ongoing industrial relations dispute between the Port's Security Corps and the management. The workers are accusing the management of making them work in substandard conditions and working without an MOU since 2016. Jamaica Maitland has that story.
Hundreds of security personnel at the island's ports are threatening to withdraw their service this week, which could spell trouble for the country's borders. Workers are responsible for securing the airports, piers, ports, free zones, and the transport center in Halfway Tree. The National Workers Union, which represents the employees, issued a 72-hour strike notice for industrial action, which would take effect on Wednesday, over the Port Security Corps' failure to address several outstanding issues. NWU Acting President Kurt Fletcher says the deadline to resolve two of the issues passed in January.
If they were able to pay that 4% increase and the $40,000, then we could have some more dialogue to sort out the other issues that were plaguing the workers at this time.
The NWU revealed that there has been no heads of agreement with the Port Security Corps since 2016, which was the last time the public sector employees received a raise. It was around that time the then cabinet made the entity a government body.
We have been saying that you cannot know all the time, distance yourself that, oh, we are not government, we are government, we are not government. And that is one of the issues that has been plaguing us since 2016. But every time we write to get some response to our negotiated claim, which was done with respective governments prior to that, we have been getting the runaround.
Other issues such as outstanding overtime, laundry allowance, and deplorable changing rooms are also a concern. The union says the absence of the laundry incentive put some of the officers' salary below the minimum wage. As for the strike, the NWU says it has exhausted all other options.
Not one of those promises, not one, has been met. And as such, the workers now are at breaking point. This is more than the straw that breaks the camel's back. There's no straw to break. The back is already broken.
When contacted, the PSC's General Manager, Desita Taylor, said she is aware of the letter and the agencies working with the union and the Ministry of Labour to find an amicable solution. Jamila Maitland, TVJ News.
With just a week to go before the end of February, academics are this afternoon insisting that post-colonial issues locally underscore the significance of Black History Month celebrations. Now, February is observed as Black History Month in Jamaica and other parts of the world, including the United States. Now, in this first of a two-part feature, Sandy Williams explores the key debates about Black History Month celebrations and now joins us live. Sandy.
Thanks, Gio. Some have argued that during the month of February in Jamaica, a large number of features and movies aired are related to Black American history rather than Jamaican history. This has prompted questions about the relevance of the month-long celebration to the Jamaican society. At least two scholars sought to explain why Black History Month is still relevant locally.
Senior lecturer in cultural studies at the University of the West Indies, Dr. Sonia Stanley Nair, says there are several post-colonial issues that still affect the Jamaican society today.
Post-colonial Jamaica, there are some things that we need to come to grips with, and examples continue to include segregation at beaches, access to education, broad access to education, the garrisonization of some communities in poverty, with at-risk youth, right? Exploitation of cultural workers who cannot access certain spaces unless they are performing. I could go on and on and on with examples that tell us that there are still levels of exclusion in Jamaica.
She adds that it is the Black majority that is still closest to the poverty line. Dr. Stanley Nair says despite an expanded middle class, Jamaica is still represented by the white minority.
This is a problem that was identified long ago by researchers such as M.G. Smith. And as a student of culture, a student of sociology, in fact, these are things that I've been exposed to for quite some time and I've been considering in my own contemplation of Jamaica as a nation state.
Senior lecturer in gender and development studies at the University of the West Indies, Dr. Maziki Thame explains that Jamaica is yet to unlearn the teachings of the Europeans.
The legacy of colonialism finds itself into the education system and how we teach children to think about themselves in relation to others, whether they value how they even look, you know. And this debate is ongoing. What do we do with children and their natural hair? And we take punitive measures against the hair that grows out of Black bodies.
For these reasons, Dr. Thame and Dr. Stanley Nair agree that Black History Month is still relevant to the Jamaican society.
Anti-Blackness remains a feature of our Caribbean experience, and it's something that we have to contend with even now in the 21st century. a focus on ourselves, therefore a celebration of ourselves, as occurs in Black History Month, I think is meaningful to how we begin to think about recreating possibilities for Black people in the 21st century and beyond.
The reason why we are recognizing Black histories is precisely because there is such an emphasis, such a brainwashing that we have had over centuries of white history. And the fact that, you know, much of what we live in the context of this modern world is so much emphasized in terms of what whites have created, the kind of wealth, the kind of capitalist enterprise that still sits on a kind of, you know, let's say white world.
In part 2, we'll explore ways in which Jamaicans can move away from post-colonial issues that are still evident. So join us again tomorrow. Gio, it's back to you.
Thanks so much, Sandy. Very important issue covered there. And that's where we take our first break here on the Midday News, but please stay with us. We'll have much more when we return. Welcome back. We're continuing the news. 2 men are dead following a fatal crash on the Gutters Main Road in Manchester this morning. The deceased men have been identified as 21-year-old Nevada Brown, otherwise called Swagger, of Gutters, and 25-year-old Omar Hewitt of Pepper in the parish. Both men are welders. Information received is that a few minutes before 10 o'clock, the men were on a motorbike heading towards Gutters from Mandeville when a grey Mark X traveling in the opposite direction overtook a bus and hit the bike. The men fell off the motorcycle. The driver of the Mark X fled the scene. However, our news team was informed that he later turned up at the Mandeville police station. Small business operators could be in line for more state assistance in the coming weeks. The matter was raised at a graduation event recently by Government MP Juliet Holness. O'Shane Masters reports.
In a few days, the Minister of Finance will open the budget debate. And some observers are curious about what announcement will be made for groups such as small businesses that are still trying to recover from the last 18 months. But if the words of government lawmaker Juliet Holness are anything to go by, some assistance could be coming for the micro-businesses.
I've been sitting down trying to figure out how I'm going back to the Minister of Finance to say to him, you're doing the budget, and I'm sure you must have some more care packages and other things going on in there that you will be passing. Chamber of Commerce will be happy. I want you to look out specially for our MSMEs. We need to see if we can find a way to give them a little more help.
The lawmaker also praised small business operators for their resilience throughout the pandemic. She explained many kept on most of their staff, even as the virus spread and crippled businesses.
They kept together as a family and rode out the period of COVID. What it did, it resulted in far less people in Jamaica being depressed because they had a family in those small businesses that we could tough it out together.
The parliamentarian was speaking in Manchester, where 36 young people graduated from a 3-month entrepreneurial training program. The training included courses in manufacturing, agriculture, and food safety. Of the 36 graduates, 5 have since gained employment and 20 have registered their businesses.
The program, it said, is geared at providing these youths with a skill set and the know-how to transform fledgling businesses, fledgling business operations into thriving, prosperous entities that can soon meet global standards in productivity.
She urged the Jamaica Social Development Initiative to expand the program to other parishes so that more Jamaicans can start their own business and, in the long term, reduce the people's reliance on remittances for survival. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
And it's now time for the Business Minute with Cody and Barrett.
In the financial world, the Bank of Jamaica says the local currency is depreciating at a slower pace than in 2021. BOJ Governor Richard Biles says there has been a 1.5% decline since the start of 2022.
The deceleration in the pace of depreciation versus last year reflects the actions taken by the bank in response to the higher than targeted inflation. Specifically, since the beginning of the year, the bank sold $301.9 million to the market via Refix-It, compared to $88.7 million for the corresponding period in 2020.
Oil and gas prices are climbing on fears that Ukraine-Russia crisis will disrupt supplies across the world. The price of Brent crude oil reached a 7-year high of $99.38 a barrel on Tuesday. Russia ordered troops into 2 rebel-held regions in Ukraine's east after it recognized them as independent states. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
Time now for the top regional and international stories with Sandy Williams.
In the region, in Guyana, a search is expected to continue on Tuesday for 3 missing fishermen. The men disappeared on Sunday when their trawler capsized. However, the net of the trawler was spotted on Monday by rescue teams. Guyana's Public Works Minister said the rescue teams saw the net floating in the general area where the trawler sank, but that the Guyana Defense Force Coast Guard members were unable to dive on Monday to reach the trawler, World Front 307, owned by Noble House Seafoods. Those missing and feared dead are the vessel's captain, 45-year-old Harold Anthony Damon, 78-year-old Ronald Burton, and 46-year-old Winston Sam. On the international scene, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has called on the international community to place urgent sanctions on Russia, including a complete halt on the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline. Zelensky said the Russian escalation against Ukraine is an unprecedented challenge not only for Ukraine but for Europe and the world as a whole. He said President Putin's decision to recognize the Russian-backed separatist-controlled Donetsk People's Republic and the Luhansk People's Republic requires immediate international reaction from Ukraine's global partners. The Ukrainian president said with this decision, the Russian Federation creates the legal foundation for its upcoming military aggression against Ukraine, undermining its international commitments. Zelensky said the world cannot allow a repeat of mistakes made in Georgia in 2008. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
And with that, we head to another break. When we come back, Renata Brown will have your Midday Sports.
Welcome back. It's now time for your Midday Sports. Olympic double sprint champion Elaine Thompson-Hira says that she's unsure if she will contest the World Indoor Championships in Serbia next month. Thompson-Hira, who opened her season with a 7.08-second clocking at the Muller Indoor Grand Prix in Birmingham on Saturday, will line up in the event in Poland today at 12:30. The 5-time Olympic gold medalist told reporters on Monday that today's race will be more about execution.
For getting titles indoor, right now I'm still on grass. I'm still in sneakers training. It's my first time competing in spikes, so I'm not fully prepared for titles to run a world record indoor. That takes a lot of work, but if I could dip below 7 seconds tomorrow, I'll be super happy. That probably changed my mind to go indoors, but I'm just using it as a preparation for my outdoors.
Yeah, so Thompson-Hira, the 4th fastest in the event in the world, will be up against Poland's Iwa Sawaba, the world leader, with 7 seconds flat. Olympic 100-meter hurdles bronze medalist Megan Tapper and Olympic mile relay medalist Renisha McGregor are also entered to compete at the meet. Jamaican John Campbell has earned a recall to the West Indies Test team for their 3-match series against England next month in Barbados. 28-year-old Campbell has enjoyed a good start to the CWI Regional 4-Day Championship, with the Jamaica Scorpions hitting 213 runs at an average of 53.25, including 127 against Barbados Pride. The West Indies selectors have also given a maiden test call-up to fast bowler Anderson Phillip, who has so far taken 12 wickets in 2 first-class games at an average of 14.25 per wicket, with the best bowling figures of 5 for 82 against the Scorpions. The full squad reads Craig Brathwaite captain, Jermaine Blackwood vice-captain, Nkrumah Bonner, Shamar Brooks, John Campbell, Joshua Da Silva, Jason Holder, Azara Joseph, Kyle Mears, Veersamy Permal, Anderson Phillip, Kemar Roach, and Jaden Seas. The West Indies squad will assemble in Antigua from February 25 for a training camp ahead of the Apex Test Series. More on cricket. West Indies captain Karen Pollard has admitted that Jamaican Rovman Powell should be considered more seriously for a place in the white ball setup following a good run of performances. Powell ended the recent T20 series in India as a third best run scorer with 95 runs in 3 innings, including a top score of 68 not out. It followed up from his maiden T20 century against England last month, but the 28-year-old has not been able to hold down a spot in the West Indies team. Such is his fortune that despite scores of 41 and 47 in his last 2 one-day international innings, Powell has not played ODI cricket since the Bangladesh tour in January 2021. But speaking after the 3-0 India T20 defeat, Pollard said Powell has shown that he should be more involved in the white ball setup.
The guys, really picked up themselves at a given point in time from a bowling perspective or a batting perspective. Rovman Powell showing that, he wants to be part and parcel of the white ball team. So it's something that we need to look at, as well, even in the 50-over format. And I think, a group of young guys, coming to India, it's always going to be difficult. But the way they handle themselves, I thought, especially in the T20 series here, I thought it was good on our part. Yes.
The West Indies also lost the one-day international series 3-0. And for the first time in over 2 years, local Premier League fans will have the opportunity to watch their teams in person as the Professional Football Jamaica Limited, PFJL, has gotten approval from the government to have fans at matches starting this weekend. Chairman of the PFJL, Chris Williams, gave details on Hits 92 FM Sports Grill on Monday.
We're limited to 1,300 per day. So, you gotta, grab your tickets early so that you can be one of the lucky 1,300 to get in. We're going to be announcing on our Jamaica Premier League Instagram page tomorrow. We will be announcing how you can actually get the tickets.
Williams says details on how supporters can get access to the games will be posted on the Jamaica Premier League social media sites today. And that's it for your Midday Sports Report. Giovanni, it's back to you.
Thank you so much, Leonardo. Trying to make that lucky 1,300. That's the Midday News. I'm Giovanni Dennis. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a good afternoon.